Hey there, guys. I hope everyone is having a good night tonight because we are going to be finishing off tonight with all the streamings that we've done with our Creature of the Week. Yeah, unfortunately, I thought I would have way more time to kind of do like the art stream, but I'm probably going to push that either tomorrow or Sunday. I don't know the time exactly or if I even got time for it tomorrow. But either way, I'll let y'all know whenever I tweet it on Twitter, so y'all keep an eye out for that. For now, though, greetings, creatures and humans alike. I am MagiQDog, and tonight on this Creature of the Week, we'll be learning about. We shall be learning about the Kami. And I am excited to talk about this creature, because after all, these are really unique entities that we'll be speaking of. Anyways, just a second to get everything situated and get it set up for it. Come on. Come on, you're not going to do that? Hang on, having some technical issue difficulties. Really? You're gonna be doing that? Fine. I need you on in case something happens. Here we go. Okay. Alright. Where was we? Oh yes. The Kami. Kami are a collective group of divine-like spirits, forces of nature beings, and deities that are told and worshipped in Shinto Japanese mythology. Appearance. When it comes to what a kami looks like, this answer would be very complicated. For like how yokais, another Japanese collective group of spiritual beings and monstrous entities, the kamis can also appear in various shapes, sizes, and forms. Some can appear as humanoid like you and me, others appear as animals that live in the wilderness around Japan. There are those who appear just as monstrous and frightening as yokai. Then there are some that might appear as objects and devices that we use on a daily basis. And you finally have those that appear like natural or unnatural forces. Boy, I lost track there for a second. Anyways, take two. Beep. And you finally have those that appear like natural or unnatural phenomena, like fogs, clouds, strange floating lights, etc. But what all kami have in common is that all kami seem to have a sense of an almighty, all-inspiring presence around them. This imminent quality showcases Kami as being a being of both good and evil, malevolent and destructive, and wonderful and fearful at the same time. This dual nature they have is what all Kami share. So yeah, Kamis can pretty much come in any shape, size, and forms that I've kind of mentioned before. But anyways, roles in mythology. Kamis are the deities and spirits that rule over the cosmos in Shinto mythology. They are considered the almighty forces that rule nature in the celestial bodies. They are also considered ancestral spirits of the deceased and those who were once emperors as well. They are the spirits of locations, elements, ancestry, and other factors of Japan. Kami can be considered both good and evil depending on how they are worshipped and given with respect. Those who are worshipped and given offerings and prayers may bless the person and help them with their daily lives, while those who aren't or disrespected may seek vengeance and retaliate by using their powers or having their servants to go after them. This is why the practice of Shinto exists, as it's the practice of worshipping Kami, and why so many shrines, temples, and other locations are dedicated to Kami, and how to worship them and leave offerings. Back in the past, Kami were once protectors of worshipped rights, and would protect the people during hunting, fishing, gathering, and even with rice cultivations, along with bringing forth a good harvest and blessing their lands for good fortune. They are also help protect against diseases and illnesses back in the day, which is why kamis of modern time are still believed to grant healing powers when people go to visit their temples and shrines. And finally, kami also reside within both the heavenly realms and the land of Japan, so encounters with a kami aren't that uncommon. Let's see. too many kami. Just like how there are so many different yokais, there too are so many different kinds of kami. There are so many kamis that exist that if take two. There are so many kamis that exist that a phrase saying 8 million kami is used to express a countless number of kamis. With so many spirits that can make up their own country, how would one even organize kami in a group? Luckily for us, Japan's culture has divided up kamis into categories based on what kind of kami they are. In the Kokichi, boy, I am having a hard time trying to speak. Anyways, in the Kokichi, a collection of Japanese myths and legends, oral traditions, and rhymes, and historical accounts, is stated of 300 categories of kami alone. However, we aren't going to go through every single one because there are just so many of them. However, we are going to name out some of the more famous categories of kamis. The first are and I'm probably going to butcher this, so I do apologize in advance. The Kotoi Amat, the Kotoi Amatsukami. Kotoi Amatsukami. There we go. Yeah, I got it nailed. Anyways, they are the true deities who are the creators of the world and are responsible for all creation. The second kind that goes along with the first is the Amatsukami. They are the heavenly kami deities that reside within the celestial realms and are considered the immortals. You also you also have the Kunitsukami or the earthly kami. These are the many kinds of kamis that reside on earth and are considered the mortal kamis. You also have the Ya-O-Yorozu no Kami. They are the many numerous kami that can have pretty much their own divisions as well. Let's see. Next are the Ujigami, for they are the ancestral kami spirits of certain clans. Then you also have the Shikigami. They are the kami spirits of death, who are helpers who guide souls to their final resting places, or as mediators to make sure their time surely comes. Finally, they can also be divided based on their roles and functions or by what they represent. These include the nature kami, who reside and govern in nature, human kami, who are once humans before transcending to become powerful spirits, object kamis, these are the ones that live within objects, animal kamis of both regular animals and mythical creatures, guardian spirit kamis, who will protect those who offer their prayers, even those who reside within tools and crafting tools. So basically put, there's just a bunch of different kamis. Powers. Kami are seen as powerful beings that people hope to worship and pray to for blessings and protection. But what kind of powers does a kami have? Well, this is going to get a little bit complicated again. For you see, kami as a kami as a whole can have a whole bunch of. I am sorry, I have lost track on this again. Let me take a break. Excuse me. Phew. Yeah, unfortunately, I've done a really long stream and stuff, and my chatter box is no longer running the chatter. Anyways, where was I? Okay, take two. For you see, Kami as a whole can have a whole unlimited amount of powers and abilities. Now, this doesn't mean that each Kami is omnipotent. This just means that each Kami may have their own unique powers compared to others. This is mainly due to what the Kamis represent, whether they are a natural force, animals, objects, or ancestral ones. As just, depending on who the Kami is, they could be as powerful as any high gods or as weak as a mere spirit. However, I was able to find a list of the more common powers that Kami possesses. First off, many are divine spirits and deities, so they will have divinity and almighty powers of godly stature. There's also the fact that they are spirits with spiritual powers and abilities. They also represent duality, as they can be both creative and destructive whenever they please. Many also wield magical and supernatural powers that they use to govern their lands. And speaking of lands, many are nature or natural force beings. So they will have powers depending on what aspect of nature they represent, like elemental manipulation, storm generation, or even controlling mountains, forests, and seas. Many are also blessing beings that can offer blessings and good fortune, like for good harvest or wealth. Some are also healing beings who can heal wounds. Ancestral types can pass down knowledge and make any weak man a confident leader or have guidance to lead people in their affairs. From granting wishes to purification to being guardians and more. Kami as a whole have an entire arsenal of powers that they will use for their transactions. Weaknesses. However, as almighty they can be, surely they wouldn't have a weakness. Well, they do in fact have a weakness. After all, kamis aren't just a defined being, but just like humans, they also have flaws and often make mistakes, as much as they would deny it. Anyways, but for real, kami does have weaknesses and these weaknesses are quite surprising. The first is the concept of kigari. The kigari is a term used for spiritual pollution that contaminates a person's soul. The kigari offends the kami and can even weaken their spirituality by obstructing their life giving force. This also causes bad harmony between humans and kami, often making kami wrathful to a person. Another weakness is their own emotions and arrogance. Kamis are not perfect beings, and they will easily get upset or offended by people, or even by other beings like other kamis. As such, playing on their emotions might give you an advantage like tricking them, although this method might also be risky too. Kamis also have limitations based on what concept and roles they play. For example, a woodland kami may only have powers over the woods they reside in, but not in another stretch of forest or over the mountains and rivers near said forest. This is also the same with other kamis, whether they are animals, humans, and so on. Of course, there are other limitations as well, since they aren't true omnipotent beings, uh, like them not being all knowing. Now, another weakness they have is the fact that they become weaker and losing their powers by a number of believers they lose. Kami heavily rely on worshippers and beliefs due to the power of spirituality that comes from people's beliefs and prayers. As such, if a kami is forgotten or no longer worshipped like they used to, they can become significantly weakened and even lose some of their powers they once wielded. They will even enter into a state of hibernation until new followers and worshippers appear and give back its power. Now, another weakness they do possess is the fact that they can die. That's right. The story of Izanami's death after giving birth indicates that any kami can die. However, this is more of a result of other kamis, and those that die might return in a few different methods, which includes them reincarnating into another kind of kami, resurrection by other kamis, and so on. And speaking of which, if you're able to get a stronger kami as your ally, they can help you overpower and defeat a kami that you might have pissed off. Banishment and cleansing can also deter a lesser kami away if it's giving you troubles. There are even some defying weapons told in myths that can harm kamis as well, like Izanagi's sword. And that is the main weaknesses of kami. But I will admit, even with all these weaknesses in mind, it will still be a hard fight against one. Kami and yokai. Kamis have existed within Japan as far back as 712 CE within the collections of the Koshiki. They are also one of the most believed entities of Japan, with many shrines and temples dedicated to them. However, kami alone aren't the only spiritual beings that the Japanese people believe in. Yokai are also one of the more believed class of supernatural creatures of Japan, with them having their own categories, famous individual yokai, and having many stories and myths told about these creatures. There are even shrines and temples that are associated with some yokais, like Yokai Shrine of the Totori Preference and Shidachi Temple of Tokyo. As such, kami and yokai are the most iconic beings of Japan and have impacted Japanese society as a whole. But this does raise a question. What is the difference between a kami and a yokai? What are their relationship with one another? I, I am so sorry about that. Anyways, where was I? Oh yeah, have the two ever switched sides? Well, I actually got the answers for that for y'all. First of all, kami and yokai as a concept are actually similar to one another. Both groups can represent nature and phenomena. Both can be spirits with spiritual and magical powers. Both can appear as monstrous or animal like and humanoid, and so on. In fact, the major difference between the two is that kami are of divinity and worship, while yokais are seen as spirits and monstrous beings that might be mischievous or violent. Now, with them being similar, it could be possible for some kamis and yokais to get along. After all, not all yokai are violent or troublesome. There are some like kitsunes who are benevolent. In fact, some some kitsunes actually serve the kami Inari, so it's not out of the question that the two can't get along. However, on the flip side, kami and yokai can also be enemies, especially when a shaman or monks use incantations and call upon their blessings to help fight against the evil yokai. So the interactions between these two can be common depending on the kami and yokai. But the comparisons doesn't end there. These two types of mythical beings are so similar, so highly spiritual, and they rely on human spirituality so much that some kamis are known to have fallen and transformed into yokais themselves, while yokais can transcend it and become kamis themselves. That's right. Both kami and yokais can actually switch teams and become one or the other. This is possible because both kamis and yokais are affected by the positive aspects or niji and the negative aspects or anami. Niji is a benevolent side that allows positive energy, feelings, and peace, while anami is the opposite with negative energy, dark emotions, and chaos. In other words, it's similar to the concept of yin and yang if you think about it. And with this, this can pretty much change as a kami and yokai. If a kami becomes consumed with negativity due to, let's say, for example, losing its worshipping status, becoming wrathful, or being neglected too much, it will become wicked and turn into a yokai. Now, if a yokai is constantly praised with blessings and positivity, like being worshipped or seen in a divine light, it can transcend and turn into a kami. With all these factors, both kami and yokais are so similar with one another that some people, like those of the Western world, might mistake them for one or the other if they're not knowledgeable about these two beings. Even still, these two are entirely different classes of beings that affect Japanese society and culture differently. How to become a kami. As I mentioned before, kami spirits can come into existence through multiple methods. They could simply exist as if they are. Hang on a second, I messed up. Take two. Beep. They could simply exist as if they are. Take three. Beep. They could simply exist if they are the heavenly Kotoi Amatsukami, or are born from other kamis, or through other methods like reincarnation. There's also the fact that lesser beings like humans and yokais that I mentioned before can transcend and become kami spirits themselves. With that in mind, though, how would one become a kami spirit? For humans and humanoids, at least, there are at least two methods for a person to become a kami, and these methods are only possible by both yourself and other people around. The first method by becoming take two beep. The first method is by becoming an ancestral spirit type. First, you have to die. Yeah, I know it's a bit extreme, but that's the first step. Secondly, your family must purify your spirit so your spirit will be clean. Finally, your family will refer you as an ancestral spirit that will guide the family for future generations. This normally includes making altars of you within their homes and often praying to your altar for blessings and luck. This in turn will allow your spirit to become an ancestral type of kami. Now, the other method is actually the same as a yokai. This method first involves being an important person who had a major impact on society. This could include being a famous scholar or teacher, political leader like a prime minister or president, or a great hero who helped save many people. Heck, even famous entertainers or story creators might meet the quota for becoming a yokai. Next, upon their death, which again can be helped, the community will enshrine your spirit within shrines and temples built dedicated to you. Then people from all over would start coming to the temples and shrines to pray and worship them as if you were a kami already. This Nietzsche energy flow and positive praising would then turn the human spirit into a kami. An example of this was from the famous scholar and politician Sugawara. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher this big time. Sugawara no Mishisani. Due to his fame and achievement, shrines were erected in his name, and he became Tenjin, the kami god of scholarship and learning. These two methods are the main way for a humanoid like you humans to become a kami. But note that it isn't just you humans that can become a kami. Yokai, other spirits, and even pets on rare occasions can become a kami themselves. So if you want to become a great spirit kami, work hard, stay righteous, and become a prominent figure in your human society that will make your community and your family proud of you. Famous yokai spirits. Kind of recapping what I said beforehand, there are just so many different kinds. I'm getting tired. Anyways, kind of recapping what I said before, there are just so many different kinds of kami that exist that is literally impossible to name each one off. It's kind of like trying to name off all humans on the list, or in my case, creatures from back in my world. However, there are very famous kamis who are highly worshipped with many shrines, temples, and offerings dedicated to them. Here are some of the most famous and well-known kamis to be told in Japan. First is both Izanagi and Izanami. The two are the creator kami of creation and life and were once happily married. But Izanami died from childbirth and became an underworld goddess of Yomi, which resulted in the two to be separated. Next is Amaterasu, probably the most famous goddess and kami of all. She is a sun goddess and one of the highest deities of the heavenly realms. She was born from Izanagi's left eye and is a queen of Takama no Hara, who is often represented with holding a mirror and having a red disk of the sun. Next is Tsukuyomi, the moon god. He is the mother of Amaterasu, and like her, he was born from the right eye of Izanagi. The two actually had a fight which resulted in the sun and moon to be separated forever. Then there is Susanoo, the kami god of storms and sea, and is the brother of Amaterasu as well. He became famous as a hero who slayed the dragon Yamato no Orochi. He also had some issues with his dad Izanagi. Hachiman is the kami of war who was once a kami of agriculture and fishing. Omoikane is the kami of wisdom and intelligence, who is also a wise counsel, while Tenjin is the kami of scholar and is praised for good exams by students. Inari is the goddess kami of rice, harvest, and fertility. She's also considered the kami of foxes and kitsunes since her servants are always foxes. Saruta Hiko is the kami of martial arts, and he governs the Kunitsukami while protecting the bridge that connects both heaven and earth. Raijin is a thunder kami who's partnered with the wind kami Fujin. These two are special, as one of their stories told of them as demons who came from Izanami's corpses before Buddha himself purified them, and they became kami. Which, by the way, Buddhism also exists in Japan as well, so the two kind of intermingle with one another. Anyways, where was I at? Oh yes, Uzume is a kami of joy as he dances while having a big smile on his face. I like Luffy. Anyways, Sushi is a kami god of water and all creatures that reside within its deeps, while Ryujin is a dragon god of the sea, who rules from his underwater temple and who is the ancestor of the first emperor Shinmu. All of the kami gods and spirits that I've mentioned are the most famous ones. Of course, there are still many others out there, like Benten, the female kami of music, Ebisu, the kami of prosperity, and Konpira, the kami who protects sailors and fishermen. So yeah, like I said before, there is a shit ton. Popularity. Thanks to Japan's high belief in their continued practice of Shinto, kami are one of the most famous kind of spiritual beings told from Japan. Japan features them heavily within their pop culture and media, with their anime and manga, movies and TV series, and more. And by the way, there are a ton of them in anime. With movies, anime movies features kamis like the Studio Ghibli films, Noragami, Inuyasha, and more. For TV series, Seri no Moribito have the series who might have taken inspiration by kamis. And while there is no kami in this one, the TV series Kami no Chisuki has taken the name kami. For cartoons, well, this one's a bit different. There aren't actually any kami characters in Western cartoons, but there are some beings that might be referenced from them. Of these includes the spirits of the spirit world from Avatar. There's also the laser disc guardian from regular show that kind of gives a similar vibe to kami. Any train car from Infinity Trains has a guardian being that governs the cars, similar to a kami governing their own concept of space. And I know it's not exactly like a kami, but it's the best I could find. Now, for anime and manga, on the other hand, there are just so many different kinds. From Tyson Siku from Dark Gathering, the gods and spirits of Noragami, the Shikigamis of Bleach and Death Note, Hanyu Furude from Higurashi, the god of misfortune, Momoshi Bimboda in Good Luck Girl, and so on. Even anime that doesn't feature the supernatural may have characters going to shrines and temples to pay tribute to kamis, like in Sakamoto Days, where Osaragi pay tribute to the gods to find her target, or Lucky Girl, where the girls go pray in a shrine. In video games and games as a whole, you got Okami as you play as Amaterasu. Kami, Spirit of the Land, is a board game where you play as a kami that either helps build a community or disrupt the other players. Path of Kami lets you play as a role spirit, Kazuyo, and go on a journey to the spirit world. Ghost of Tsushima mention Kami as a belief that might help or hinder the player, similar to how real Japan treats Kami. And not to mention the anime games that's got the Kami characters in them, like the Higurashi series with Hanyu, or any other games that features Bleach characters like Jump Force and so on. Speaking of which, I recently got off of Jump Force, so if you guys want to check out that stream, it's still on Twitch. Let's see. With books, there are Japanese mythology books like Shinto and History, Ways of the Kami, that's edited by Sean Bree and Mark Tiwi, and Shinto, the Kami Spirit World of Japan. The Kami Prophecy by A.C. Ward told of kamis that foresaw humanity's destruction and warned us of it. In the 2025 book of 2025 Blood of the Kami by Yasuki Monogatari is a fantasy action novel of a boy with kami blood that protects people from evil spirits and yokai. And of course, you have all the shrines, temples, festivities, and even statues that are built in honors of these spirits. And to wrap this all up, Shinto has a strong belief of high spirit kamis. They are a force to be reckoned with, as they play a vital role in spirituality of Japan. Whether they are celestial or nature spirits, or ancestral and guardian spirits that might have once been human or yokai. They are the gods and spirits that help shape and define Japan's culture into what it is today. So give your prayers and respect to the kami within their shrines and temples, and you might just receive their divine blessings. And with that, that concludes the kami. So, what do you guys think of these guys? Do you think that they can come in any shape and sizes that you might imagine? Do you think there are way too many types? Would you like to go and kind of give your respects to them within their shrines and temples? Let me know in the comment section whenever I upload this on YouTube. So yeah, that pretty much concludes the kami right here. Now, what other mythical creature will we be talking about on our next creature of the week? Ooh, this one's good. We're going to be talking about a certain man-eater from Persian mythology that seems to have a head of a human and a body of a lion, with a stinger-like tail, too. I'm giving y'all way too many clues and stuff, so I can't wait for y'all to come back next week whenever we react to this. But for now, we're going to go ahead and end this out, because I think my voice is starting to get raspy. And like I said, unfortunately, I won't be able to do the art stream tonight, but hopefully either tomorrow or Sunday, I'll be able to get on here and draw some artwork for y'all. But for now, with all that out of the way, thank you guys for coming on this fantastic stream. I hope y'all had as much fun as I did as we got to learn about the kamis and their defined worshipping ways. And if you wish to see more of these, check me out on my Twitch page, check me out on Twitter, check me out on my main YouTube channel and my Game and React channel. And leave a like and subscribe for that as well. And with that, I bid this show adieu. So see you guys. So long. Bye bye. Okay, bye.